Hi, Tom. Hi,
Hi,
everyone. I'm going to read what has become my favourite verse. I know many have heard it before, so I'm sorry, but I can't help it. It's my favourite. It's from Sadhanai Saram by Sri Sadhu Om, verse 13. The Almighty, Sri Ramana, who exists within the heart of everyone, who unfailingly helps me at all times, and who cannot be banished from my mind, even for a moment, has brought me close to him, only to take me as his slave. Therefore, whatever he now does with me is only happiness for me. How can anything that he does hereafter appear to me as something undesirable or painful? Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
thank you, Gordon. Gordon, actually, would you like to read it again for us? Would you like to do that? Please read it again then. Thank you. Beautiful verse. Beautiful verse.
The Almighty Sri Ramana, who exists within the heart of everyone, who unfailingly helps me at all times, and who cannot be banished from my mind even for a moment, has brought me close to him, only to take me as his slave. Therefore, whatever he now does with me is only happiness for me. How can anything that he does hereafter appear to me as something undesirable or painful? Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you again, Gordon. Thank you again. What a beautiful verse. See, I never had a problem with being a slave to God, being God's slave. The idea of being God's slave never filled me with any negativity or any sense of retaliation or rebellion. But I've come across people who, when they hear this kind of strong language about being a slave to God, even the word surrender to God, it can be quite a difficult concept or idea for some people. It kind of goes against what some people feel is right or what they've been taught, which is that you need to stand up for yourself and be independent and strong and not be subservient and obedient to another that's more powerful than you, you know. But when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to Bhagavan, when it comes to God, God wants you to surrender to him or to her or to that, to itself. God wants you to surrender to him, to her. She wants you to surrender. But she doesn't want you to surrender for her benefit. It's for just out of love for you. Because God knows when you surrender, you become whole. So it's different to like this kind of social or political surrender in which you are bowing down in front of, I don't know, an autocrat, a monarch, someone of higher social standing than yourself. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about giving yourself so completely on a spiritual level that the sense of individuality and egotism disappears. And with it, the sense of manyness, the sense of multiplicity, the sense of duality also disappears. And we become, or rather we rediscover what we are, which is God already. We rediscover that ourself as that, as him, as her. My surname, Das, means servant of God. But it actually just means servant. It's implied that it means servant of God. But the literal meaning is servant. I remember when I was a young child, in India, most of our names, they all have a meaning. And most people know what their names mean. So I asked my dad, what does our surname mean? What does Das mean? And my dad's English is very good, but English is a second language for him. And so sometimes he doesn't get the nuance of all the meanings correct. So when I said to him, Dad, what does our surname mean? He said it means slave. He didn't say it means servant, which is the typical meaning. If you ask somebody what does the surname Das mean, you'll typically get servant or servant of God as the answer. My dad said it means slave. He was quite happy about this. My dad's quite a proud man, you know. He wouldn't want to be thought of as anybody's slave. You know, that's not the way he would like anyone to think of him, but he was proud of his name. Slave, he said it means slave, and it means slave of God. And then he just, went on with his daily business. And I was left pondering this. Wow, slave of God. Later on, I found out that people don't like it if you say that their surname is slave. And you may not be surprised to know that many other people in my family have the same surname as me. And when I told them that our surname means slave, I was corrected. Servant is more accurate, they would say. Actually, my surname means slave or servant. It means the same. The distinction isn't really there in the etymology, the linguistic history of my surname. So the surname Das, is fairly widespread. It's a fairly well-known surname, especially from the part of India my family are from. And it's a surname many people are proud to have. They're proud to be slaves or servants of God. Of course, I'm speaking about this because in the verse that Gordon shared with us, it talks about Bhagwan Ramana claiming us as his. Does he say slave? Slave, yes. In certain bhakti traditions, and perhaps many of you will have come across this, the devotees change their name to the deity of their choice and then add the word Das as their surname, meaning they are a servant of that deity. Shiva Das, Ram Das, Krishna Das. Servant of Rama, servant of Krishna, servant of Shiva. Especially the Vaishnavite tradition. Vaishnavite tradition means the tradition that follows Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, as their main deity of choice, and the various incarnations of Vishnu, such as Rama, Krishna. The Vaishnavite tradition, especially the Bhakti tradition in who worship Lord Vishnu. You'll see this. So, if you have a slight resistance or allergy to this notion of surrender, to this notion of being a servant or even being a slave of God, try to be open to this. God is not trying to subjugate you. God is not trying to oppress you. God is not trying to suppress you. God wants you to surrender to her, to him, because he or she knows you are he. And through surrender, you will come to know this yourself. So God wants to build you up, fill you up with her love. Bhagavan wants to fill you up with his love, his presence, his beingness. So surrender to him and he will fill you up. He will build you up in his image as him. You will, metaphorically speaking, be sitting at his right side, which means you'll be close to him. You'll be with him, by his side, as him actually. You'll be one with him. You are that. Tattvamasi. You are that reality. Through surrender, through love, through surrender, through letting go, we come to know ourselves as we truly are, as him. For some, this is the entire teaching. This for you, this can be the entire teaching. That's it. You don't need to read the books full of all the concepts. You just need to, in your own way, follow your heart and surrender to whatever you perceive or conceive the divine to be. It doesn't matter, as long as it's genuine. Bhagavan's teachings will help you to do this. You give yourself to Bhagavan. You take Bhagavan Ramana as your guru. You give yourself to him. He will do all this for you. But if you have a different conception of the divine, that will work just as well. Be open to giving everything of yourself to God. It doesn't have to come all at once, but just be open to it. That's all you need. Be open to God. Be open to God. Open your heart to God. Open your heart to Bhagavan. That's it. However much you can open up. If you imagine a door that's shut, and then you just open up a little bit. Whatever gap you open, and you open the door, whatever gap you create, God will rush in through that gap and help you. You don't need to do much. Eventually, God will show you that you are not the body. God will show you you are not the mind, the thinking, the mind. And of course, you know already you are not the world. God will show you you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the world. And he will show you his own true form, which is formless subjectivity, the source of all creation. Tattvamasi, you are that. For him to reveal this to you, you have to not be there. Yes, you have to not be there. One of the simplest ways to not be there is love, faith, surrender. If we follow Bhagavan's teachings, it helps. If we follow his teaching that this life is a dream, and we take our time to contemplate that, to imagine, to think, actually, if this life was a dream, what would that mean? What would that be like? What are the ramifications of that? The teaching that life is a dream, we can call it Vivarta Vada in Sanskrit. The notion or doctrine that everything is an illusion. It's called Vivarta Vada. Vada means the doctrine or belief or view. Vivarta means everything is an illusion, essentially. So Vivartavada is the teaching that Bhagavan gave to us many times, that this entire body, mind, and world is just a dream and is not real. If you take on this view with faith in Bhagavan's teachings, in his realization, this will help us. We don't want to neglect the body and the mind. We want the body mind to be healthy, but we can also take on this view to help us as well. Of course, these teachings assume a certain level of maturity and responsibility on the part of the body mind, which I know you will have already. You do. You do. So just to give yourself to him and come back to yourself, the pure beingness. That's it. That's the teaching in a nutshell. These satsangs are just here to facilitate that. That's it. These satsangs, we do not need you to make videos, to edit books, to do all these things for the teaching. No, the teachings are there for you. This is not an evangelical school of spirituality where we encourage people who attend to bring more people in. No, this is for you. This is a gift of love for you. These teachings are open to everyone, but most people will not be interested in these teachings. Look at us all here. We're all different, superficially at least. We're just united by our love for these teachings. Probably in every other respect, at least superficially speaking, we're all completely different from each other. Maybe we have different interests, different life stories, etc., etc. Different cultures, different socio-economic statuses, you know? Different backgrounds. But we all come together because we love these teachings, we resonate with Bhagavan, or something like this. Some of you will naturally, in quotes, help this meeting, propagate the teachings. That's a byproduct. That is not your purpose for being here. Your purpose for being here, I humbly suggest to you, is liberation for yourself. That's it. Not trying to help other people become liberated. No, it's liberation for yourself. That's all that matters. If you help others along the way, that's wonderful. You'll find when you are liberated, you have actually liberated everybody. And this is why you only need to, if you worry about other people's liberation, it's actually a distraction. If you worry about trying to help somebody else, it becomes a distraction. The key thing is your own liberation. You realize everyone is you. When you wake up, everyone wakes up. Don't worry what will happen to my mother, what will happen to my father, what will happen to my brother, what will happen to my sister, what will happen to my son, what will happen to my daughter, what will happen to my lover, what will happen to my lover's mother, what will happen to my lover's father, what will happen, and so on. Don't worry about this. The best thing you can do for them, if you resonate with this path, is strive, seek for your own liberation. This is the best security you can give all of your nearest and dearest, because you're bringing them to God. You're just bringing yourself home. This is why Bhagavan said the greatest help you can give to the world is your own realization. Bhagavan's teachings are beautiful, simple, and rare. They're beautiful, they're simple, and they're rare. And they are the direct path. In my experience, all the other paths that claim to be direct but teach something different to Bhagavan are not truly liberating paths. This is my experience. Maybe some of you will agree with me. Maybe some of you won't. That's fine. I'm just sharing with you my experience. Bhagavan's teachings are the most direct path. Again, I don't want to enforce my view onto anybody else. This is just my experience, my limited experience, to be honest. So discover what his teachings are saying and then follow them. I've already said it today, what this essence of the teaching is already. I formulated it one way today. Another time I may formulate it differently, but it's the same teaching, given again and again, formulated in various ways. Expressed, the same teaching expressed in different ways, using different words. It's just to be still. All the teachings are just to be still. Movement arises because we think we're an individual. Movement is Maya. Movement is born of ignorance. The self is unmoving, unchanging. This you should know. It's the only truth. You discover it, all your problems are gone forever. The whole world's problems are solved. This is liberation. And this is the teaching of my master. my guru, Bhagwan Ramana. Thanks and gratitude to Bhagwan.